Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 58 of the Bucs UK podcast. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. I'm Alex, your host for this one. I've got David with me, and you also realise that I've got two new people with me for this episode, two Bucs UK members. Please welcome Ryan and Dan. Hello, gents. How are you?
Good, thank you, mate.
Very well, Alex, and yourself?
Yeah, good. Thank you. It's good to have you both on the show. So just quickly, Ryan, Dan, I'd just like to ask you about how you became Bucs fans and members of Bucs UK. So, Ryan, would you share your story first, please?
Yeah, well, I got into the Bucks when my dad bought a place out in Florida, and yeah, the Bucks were the local team. I remember my first game was a pre-season friendly against the Patriots. And funny enough, Brady was obviously with the Patriots at that time, and my brother decided he was going to be a Patriots fan. And I decided I was going to be a Bucks fan. Obviously, it worked out probably better for him over the years, but hey, hey. But yeah, so yeah, I kind of just went with a local team sort of vibe, and yeah, to be honest with you, I wouldn't change it.
Super. And Daniel, what about you?
I'd say watching NFL around, I don't know, 2010 time, I guess. Didn't really follow a team, was looking for someone, I guess. Initially got drawn towards the Detroit Lions. I guess Axel Foley, Beverly Hills Cop, Calvin Johnson was playing at the time. It would have been an easy thing to do. But didn't quite find that affinity there, though. And then 2012, I guess like most Bucs fans, wanted it in Florida and decided to take the trip down and see what it was all about in person. We saw the San Diego Chargers, Antonio Gates, Phillip Rivers. Bucs won it 34-24. Josh Freeman, it was Doug Martin, Levante David's rookie season. Garrett Blount was playing, Vinnie Jackson. It was one of them years. And a game with lots of eventful things. We had a blocked punt field goal from memory. We won it with an 80-yard interception touchdown as well. So experiencing that firsthand and being there and seeing it, from that point onwards, there was no question involved which side got my heart, I guess, if you will.
Fantastic, brilliant, and it's great. Of course, it's great you both chose well, Ryan, you had the Bucs before me, of course, but you got me into the Bucs. But it is great to have you both as part of the Bucs UK family. So before we go any further, please make sure you smash that like button at the bottom of the video, hit subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you turn on that notification bell so you're notified every time we upload. Right, so let's dive straight into it, gents, and have a look back at the Jets game. David, can you just share your overall feelings about the game on Sunday?
Well, it was a lot tougher than I think many of us expected going into it. Jets had run 4 games, so, they weren't the automatic pushover. And as we all know, we had a lot of pieces missing, particularly from our offense. Not to mention a couple of late arrivals on the defense as well for their delayed flight. So disappointing, really, for 3/4 of the game. But you have the GOAT on your side, and he's going to make plays, isn't he? And that's sort of what you come to expect. So yeah, we snuck in there at the end, but it certainly wasn't easy, was it? There was a lot of factors all round team, from early penalties to our defensive line not holding up and then making some runs, and then clutch plays in the end from our offense, our backup receivers. So it was it was a difficult game to call all the way through, really, and it was just a case of hanging on in there. And thankfully, Tom made it at the end with Cyril.
That's it, Tom Brady there. And Dan, how was Sunday for you?
It seemed like almost off the gas for me. I think we half expected to roll into town and take the game. I actually think, as things transpired, we had a lot of people out, as you know, and obviously some left midway. But I think defensively, JPP, Shaq Barrett, Levante David missing is huge. I think it was a chance for other guys to get some reps. And we didn't seem to have that cohesion that you'd expect. Devin White, 2-tackle game, was off form. I guess he's allowed a bad day at the office once every couple of years, isn't he? So we'll forgive him for that. Apparently, he's not carrying an injury. So hopefully that will subside. But yeah, offense, we just had enough about us. I think if we were playing a half decent team, we may have come unstuck. The fact it was the Jets, the fact we was able to hang in there with what we had, just meant that we had enough about us to come through with a win. So yeah, it just seemed higgledy-piggledy, I think, for want of a better phrase.
Ryan's the team were, if you like, brought back down to earth with a bit of a bump on Sunday.
Yeah, I think it may end up weirdly being quite a good thing, because sometimes you go into it, and if we'd won, I know like last year, obviously won loads of games going into the playoffs, confidence was high, and then we just kept winning. But sometimes you do need a bit of a wake up call, just to sort of like, you're not going to go out there and just win every game by turning up, sort of thing. And I think that's part of what happened, really. I got a feeling we turned up and thought it's the Jets. We'll turn up, and even with all the stars that we had missing, we was like, oh, we got Evans, we've got Brown, we've got Gronk and stuff like that. We'll easily beat these lot, and yeah, maybe that was a bit of a wake up call, to be honest with you. But I was, obviously you can't help but be impressed by people like Cyril Grayson and stuff like that. But yeah, no, it was nice to see as well that when we needed to, we could turn it on. That fourth quarter, we was incredible, weren't we, really? When Brady was Brady. The guy is just an absolute. I can't tell you how many times I've watched that last 2-minute drive back. Probably a good 7-8 times over the last sort of 24, 48 hours. I've watched that back. And
I mean, it was amazing. The fact that we didn't use a timeout, we didn't get the ball out of play and stop the clock, and everyone, the likes of Tyler Johnson and people picking up yards, they knew what they had to do. Getting the ball back, getting in position. They kept that pace and that momentum going, and I think that was a real positive out of that drive.
Yeah, I mean, and how good is it to see, Ryan, you mentioned Grayson, as one player, and David, you mentioned Johnson there. But I mean, how good is it to see these sort of third string, fourth string receivers coming in and making these big plays as well? Next man up mentality.
I think Tyler Johnson is obviously, Grayson's going to get all the headlines for, like you watch that sort of like the 2-minute drive, and it was, Brady was at points, I thought he didn't see any other receivers out there. I thought he was just throwing it to Grayson all the time. But I think there was even a point during that last that last quarter when the commentator even said, he said, oh, these are going to be my 3 starting wide receivers. And he said Grayson, he said Evans, and he said, I think Perriman, he said. And then he said, oh, Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson will come in when, as rotation backups. For me, I think Tyler Johnson he's one of the most slept on, well, not one of the most slept on wide receivers, but I think he's got the potential to be unbelievably dangerous down sort of like the stretch and in the playoffs and that, because people will be looking at Evans and Gronkowski and people like that. Obviously, they'll say we'll stop them. But I think Tyler Johnson is one that they will just sort of not take that much notice of. And I've got a feeling Brady really likes him, and I really like. I think he's quite underrated, Tyler Johnson. I'm excited about him down in the playoffs.
I agree with you, Ryan. I think Tyler Johnson as a slot receiver starts on probably 12 or 15 teams in this league today, tomorrow. And we aren't utilising him yet. And whether that is deliberate or not remains to be seen. But yeah, I think you're right. I think the guy's got good hands and a good spell of speed in the slot.
Well, it was interesting. The week before, when we had even less receivers available, he didn't even get a single pass thrown his way.
No. I mean, we used 10 receivers this game. We had 10 players with a catch. And Scotty Miller wasn't one of them. Scotty Miller was active and took 0 snaps this week. Makes you wonder what's going on there a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I can see your point there, Dan, absolutely. But it's also great to see the depth that we've clearly got on, tight ends and and receivers. Not many teams can say that there. David, Ryan also mentioned almost complacency. Really, it's the Jets. I think we're all guilty of thinking that. I certainly did. I went on the Jets UK podcast and said we were going to absolutely smash them. What do you think? Was there complacency there from the team? Did they just think, yeah, it's New York Jets, easy win?
Well, I think there was always a potential for that. I mean, not being in the locker room, you can't tell. But again, we just got off to a really scruffy start, didn't we? I mean, first couple of plays, some early flags, which never gets us going well. And then the D-line didn't stop their run early on. Right. And again, we mentioned White earlier and thought he was an off game. But I think with people like Shaq missing, I think actually he was trying to fill that hole. He was getting up to the line a lot quicker, and actually that was freeing up space behind for them to run in. So I think, we took it a little bit, the game too easy, but also I think they actually had a game plan that got us early on. We sort of created our own problems early on, but we turned it around.
They do say that we beat ourselves most of the time as well. Yeah, a lot of the times we can get those wins out, but we just shoot ourselves in the foot. Dan, I think it was you that mentioned Devin White earlier on the show. Do you think he's a bit lost without Lavonte David in there? Don't get me wrong, Kevin Minter's done a great job, but not quite the same.
I think he maybe has an element of trying to lead the defense. So Lavonte David obviously would normally drop into coverage, whether or not he doesn't have the trust in Minter as such, and he's trying to do everything, and as a result, potentially is doing less of nothing, if that makes sense. So I think if he can trust these people around him and do his job, that will then lead everybody else on. I think he's trying to be everything to everybody rather than doing what he needs to do. Hey, David's right, as what he says. He stepped up, he filled the gap. He tried to come late a few times as well. It wasn't to be. But yeah, we got away with it, and hopefully Lavonte and David will be back soon. But they come as a pair, and they work wonderfully as a pair, and that's a good thing for us. So hopefully we can get him back fit.
I think it's also worth actually bigging up JTS. His game.
Yeah,
I mean,
a good game on a bad line.
Yeah. Huge,
yeah.
But he made some other big plays in there as well, and I thought he definitely stepped up for our defense.
I can see
the amount of times they got through the run, and he made tackles running back towards their own line. His pace actually breaking off tackles and coming back to the runner was huge.
Ryan, I saw you nodding your head along with Dan there, regarding Devin White and also when David mentioned JTS. So in agreement with those guys?
Yeah, I think with Devin, I think he massively misses Lavonte. I mean, most players would miss someone of that, a player as good as Lavonte next to him. But I agree, they work so well as a tandem. I think part of that is the fact that I mean, in my opinion, and I think most people's opinions, Devin White is incredible when someone's trying to run the ball and he can just explode, and he will explode through any line, any blocker, and will get to that man in the backfield half the time and absolutely lever him. And to me, that's where he's at his best. And I just feel like with Lavonte not being there, I agree, he does kind of like, he worries a bit or tries to do a bit too much. And he doesn't quite explode as much because he's like, can I go? Can I trust, the guys behind me to cover if I go shooting out? And yeah, so I think if we can get Lavonte back, then Devin White will come back to being Devin White we all know.
I mean, don't forget also in those first two defensive series, we didn't have Sean Murphy Bunting and Jamel Dean behind.
Yes. Apparently they're playing, I saw an interview, apparently their plane went to Canada before it ended up in New York. So they took them, they got there even less time than was planned to be from what I've heard. But well, can't plan for everything there. So let's just move on and quickly have a chat about special teams. David, I mean, we know Kieran loves to give his grades on special teams. How would you say special teams did on Sunday?
I mean, Suckup did his job. Punting was okay, considering we had a backup punter in there. Didn't have a lot to do really. Did a job without causing any chaos. we're still desperately looking for that person that can run back kicks, aren't we? I mean, you know, again, the Jets had someone there that was banging them back, and our special team tackling wasn't great again on kick returns. But we definitely need to still look for that elusive kicker that's going to actually make plays for us, which is a bit of a frustration. But the big thing about special teams is you don't make key mistakes. They're not really going to win you a game, but they could easily lose you it, and that they just did what was needed, really. So a B.
I'm sure Kieran will be more than happy with that, I hope. Fantastic. Okay, gents. So I'd just like to ask you now for your magic wand here. So if there's one thing you could change immediately going into the game against the Panthers, looking back on the game against the Jets, what would it be? Dan, I'll come to you first.
One thing I could change, I would get Levante David back based on what we've said. Fit and healthy with some game time under his belt going into the playoffs as well.
Can't disagree with that one. if only. I can't disagree with it. If
It's
only.
huge.
It is. It's massive.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, so I've gone for a bit of like a witchcraft sort of state here. Now, bear with me on this, right? So, obviously, we've got all these. Everyone has like these, you know, the backups and the defense. Can we not get like some witchcraft physio to kind of like take the healthy out of like the backups that we've got and apply them to sort of like JPP, Devontae and that, so they're fully healthy, and then the backups can be, you know, slightly damaged, whatever. We'll have to really healthy good players. Do you know what I mean? Just with like other people's arms or.
You're talking about giving JPP his fingers back 1 week. And then
Well, yeah, I mean,
someone else.
you know, he could be even better than we think he is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Oh, Ryan, I love that. That is the
I
best
swear
magic
there's a
wand I think
Korean
I've
doctor.
heard.
There's a Korean doctor somewhere that will do that. I think. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is by far the best magic wand I think I've heard since we've been doing this over the 50-odd episodes. David, what about you? Any witchcraft in yours?
Not really. Well, there's two things I want to see come out the Carolina game. One is actually I want us to make sure Cam Newton doesn't get his last ever touchdown against.
Oh, God, yes, please.
And I want Mike Evans to get those yards.
Yes, 8 seasons. Yes, let's to make it 8 consecutive seasons. Absolutely, yes.
62 yards to go, and
That's all he
hopefully
needs.
and he's able to get them.
Yeah, that's all he needs. Absolutely. So before we close off this part of the show, obviously there is one thing we can't not discuss, and that is the big talking point from Sunday, which is of course Antonio Brown leaving the game in the 3rd quarter. Now, there's many stories that have been going around about why this happened. There's a suggestion that he had an injury and didn't want to come back into the game, so refused when he was asked to. Another one is suggesting that he was close to the incentive money that he would get for his touchdowns, his catches, and his yards. And another one is also just, I've heard, is just point blank refusal, just didn't want to go in. I mean, David, what's your view on the whole situation?
Well, I mean, the simple reality is none of us know, and there's very few people involved in the situation that do know. Probably even a handful of people in the locker room. So, you know, there can be as many conspiracy theories and thoughts out there as you like. I mean, all we can say is, yeah, he took off his uniform, he jogged off the pitch. He didn't do it subtly, did he?
No, and that's the truth.
And
To be fair, when does Antonio Brown do anything subtle?
I mean, it's from a playing perspective, it's a huge loss for the Bucs. You know, he was an absolute star when it came to the playoffs and the Super Bowl, and has performed when he's been available this year. But you know, he always carries issues around him, unfortunately. I thought Tom Brady's presser afterwards in the game was pretty charitable and fair and honest, and it's clear that somewhere along the line AB needs some help, and we can, you know, we can bitch about him, we can moan about him, you can say that he's let the team down, he's obviously let a lot of people down potentially in Tampa, but who knows what's going on in that mind and what drives him to some of these decisions. And that clearly Mike Evans wanted him to stay.
Yeah. Ryan, we were discussing prior to the show a bit about the AB situation, and you mentioned the hits that he took against the Bengals a few years ago. I mean, there could be something from that. It was a nasty hit for anyone who remembers it. You know, it was horrible to watch at the time.
Yeah, it was. I echo David in regards to there's all these rumours coming out as to what happened and why it all happened and everything like that. But at the end of the day, I think it is quite clear that you've got to look. The guy, there's something in his head that just causes him to explode every now and again, or to do something silly, or to find a way to mess situations up where you think you've got a great situation here. You know, what have you? And I really, I'm not that angry at him because I don't think it's something necessarily that he's actually able to control. My main thought on it is that I really hope he gets some sort of help on this. You know, that's number one. Obviously, what happens on the pitch, yeah, it's a blow for the Bucs. Of course, it's a blow for the Bucs. It's a blow for any team losing someone like Antonio Brown. But you can deal with that, and you know we've said the guys that came in did brilliantly. The one theory I definitely don't buy is this sort of like we stopped him getting his incentives and things like that. I think Bruce Arians is a fair bloke. You know, from what I can make out, he's a very fair man. And if AB had been playing well enough and you know deserved them incentives, I think he would have been fine with him having them. But regards to the other stuff, who knows? You know, nobody knows apart from probably, like David says, a handful of people. But yeah, my main thought on it is the guy needs some sort of help, and I just really hope he gets it to Musica.
I mean, Dan, you know, despite what happened on Sunday, you know, we've got to be grateful to him for his performance on the field. You know, he helped us win a Super Bowl. Everyone knows the quality that he has on the field. He, as Ryan said, he will be a big loss to us on the field.
Yeah, I mean, he was brought in last year to aid that playoff run. He did just that. He caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Do we regret the decision? No. This year for us was a free run. He worked out. If he didn't, he didn't. As it's transpired, he clearly didn't. I actually think him leaving the field, if I can, on Sunday, helped us potentially win. I think it galvanised a little bit of people. There was two bad headlines working their way out. One, we were losing to the Jets, and two, the Antonio Brown saga. And I think Antonio Brown walking off actually helped somebody say, right, let's not have both of these bad headlines on the Bucs. And if you go back and watch any of the interviews or press conferences or anything done since, just have a listen for the amount of times the word team is used by everybody, coaches and staff. It's really almost subliminal. But the word team is echoed and echoed and echoed throughout. And I think that's a big thing of what we've built as a consequence of what happened, perhaps. So, I mean, do you guys just quickly think we'll go and sign anyone else as a replacement with the playoffs ahead of us?
I think the big thing depends probably as much on Mike Evans' hamstring.
Yeah.
You know, if we were to lose Mike Evans and know that he was iffy for the playoffs, then I suppose there's an element of potential. I mean, Jason Light hasn't been shy in going out and bringing people in to ring that Super Bowl for the last 2 years, has he?
I had a look at
but
who's available free agent, and there isn't as many, but one name stuck out to me was John Smokey Brown. And I wondered if that might be somebody that could just fill that void in there.
I think after, if you'd asked me before Sunday, if we lose Antonio Brown for the rest of the season, do I want us to go, or do we need to go out and get somebody to win the Super Bowl? I'd have probably said yes. Having seen Sunday, seeing Cyril Grayson, you know, he proved himself for me on Sunday that he can do it. You know, and as we said earlier, you've got Tyler Johnson and Scotty Miller, the people are not really talking about. Perriman had another couple of very good, you know, plays on Sunday. You've then got obviously Evans, and then we've got the tight ends as well. You know, there was there was one play on Sunday that did really crap me up. Was when we threw it was a tight end screen to Cameron Brait, and I think he got about 2 yards because obviously he's
Yeah.
not the quickest, is Cameron Brait.
Impressive.
So that one did crap me up. But yeah, no, I think we've got enough weapons, especially then you've got Bell. You're gonna have Fournette coming back as well. I think we've got enough weapons. I'm not.
I don't think we will. I don't think we
worried.
need to. I
No.
just think they won't want to miss the opportunity and be short.
I mean, we've totally underused Cam Brait for the last 2 seasons. Bearing in mind he's the third leading touchdown receiver in Bucs franchise history, and what he was before Tom Brady came. And obviously the focus has been a little bit more on, well, early last season using the Titans a lot more for blocking, and then as the O-line has been trusted more, then obviously has freed up, and we went a lot more to Gronk. But we've totally underused Brait. We've not even seen a sniff of OJ Howard, really, have we? And again, as you said, the star from last year, almost on the deep balls, Scotty Miller. What has happened to him?
Well,
The fact that they suit him up every week and don't use him is very strange.
I think Scotty's there to stretch. The thing is, he may not get targeted, Scotty, but if you put him in, say
He didn't, he didn't take a
you
snap.
can put him in, and that pace will make defenses drop a long way. He is rapid, so that they will drop, and then over the middle, that then can create your space for your Gronks, off, straight down the middle and 30 yards downfield with, well, no one on him or something like that. Do you know what I mean? The space is there. So even though Scotty's not being targeted, he could still be handy, just of the pure threat of him, I think.
See, from what I've seen, Grayson has took Miller's role. Literally, Cyril Grayson played no college football. Cyril Grayson went to LSU as a track athlete, as a sprinter. He's never played college football. He's as fast, if not faster, than Scotty Miller. It would be very interesting to actually see. And if you look at the way he's utilised in the way Miller was last season. Miller didn't get on the field at all.
No, maybe the case.
It's interesting. But we've now got a CG12 and a CG14 and a CG15. That was quite enjoyable. Do you see us having much trouble next week with the Panthers?
Well, I will stop you there because we're going to come on to that in a moment, Dan.
I was going to say,
Right, mate, I was trying to feel as best we could for you, buddy.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So I will hold you there because before we discuss the Panthers, we are going to share some of our members' views, as you've heard from all of us. Let's see what some of our members had to say about the game against the Jets. So let's start off with Alex. He says Le'Veon Bell could be a weapon in the playoffs, showing he's got a bit left so far to say. That's a good point, actually. We didn't discuss Le'Veon Bell. Came on. Dan, he made a few good plays for us on Sunday.
Yeah, he did what you'd expect Le'Veon to do. I guess this is a stage for him to get his timings right, to learn the playbook, to know where he's standing. But a bit like the reason we brought in Antonio Brown last year was to do a job. And I think Le'Veon's there that if we need that job done. And it looks like we may. Fournette struggling and Ronald Jones now a little bit hampered. There's certainly worse players you could have in that position to try and depend on just for a game or two or half a game or whatever it be. He's certainly ample good enough to assist us, yeah.
Steve Gargett, he says, how many times have we made a rookie/backup QB look like the GOAT? Unbelievable, Jeff. There's a little phrase there for any soccer Saturday viewers here in the UK there. Yes, it seems to be a bit of a common theme, David, doesn't it, when we come up against a rookie or a backup quarterback?
Well, it had been until 2 seasons ago, but I think we're on a record of 7-0 at a minute on rookie quarterbacks. So long may that now continue. And again, it shows the difference between the old and the new Bucs. I mean, the Jets game, we're normally the ones that suffer those last-minute defeats, and it's us making them now. So, yeah, it's a new Bucs, isn't it?
A beautiful 2-minute classic Tom Brady drive to win that, and a superb catch from Grayson at the end there as well. Stuart Blackmore, short but sweet. Nope, wasn't worried in the slightest. Well, glad he wasn't. I don't know about the rest of you, but I was a little bit worried during that game. And our very own Dom Brady. Here we go. 93 yards, no timeouts, no problem. It's what Brady does, isn't it, Ryan?
why he's the GOAT. That's why he's the GOAT. And, anyone who doesn't like Tom Brady, they don't like Tom Brady because they don't have Tom Brady. That is the only reason that people don't like him. I know fans of loads of NFL teams and they are Brady this, Brady that. Oh, he's this. At the end of the day, you're jealous because he's not playing for your team, and that's it. That's the end of it. The guy is the best ever. So yeah, you give him give him that 2-minute drill on Sunday. Yeah, no problem. Never in danger.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for looking back at that game with me there, gents. We are going to move on to discuss the upcoming game against the Panthers. But before we do, we have reached that part of the show where, as usual, we must thank Bucs Report for their help in promoting our podcast, a fantastic reporting and podcast channel. If you haven't heard of them and you want to check them out, in the description below is all their links. Please go and give them a follow and see what they have to offer. Okay, so it's now time to move on and look ahead to the regular season finale for the Buccaneers as the Panthers come to Tampa. Okay, so final game of the regular season coming up on Sunday. Dan, we've got the Panthers. Obviously, we want to finish it with a win. Get some, and make sure we've got that momentum, or continuing to build that momentum. Into the playoffs. What, in your eyes, what are the keys to the games that the Bucs come out with a win on Sunday?
Professional job, turn up, unlike they did at the start of the Jets game last week. Cam Newton potentially is going to be his last game again in Carolina. Let's try and stop him. He has the ability to be mobile. I actually think that will play into Devin White's hands a little bit, being a QB spy. I think that will just make him sit and wait a bit longer if Cam is under center. The Panthers have been mixing it up a bit between Darnold and Newton. I don't know. I think for me, player for player on the field at the time, we've got enough to win this game. We've got enough to put this game to bed half-time, mid-third quarter, and then see where we are and see if we can't start taking off the gas and have a breather. The key going into the game and coming out of it is that everybody that suits up and takes the field comes out fit and healthy and ready to go again the following week for me. That's all that matters.
Especially as you say, especially as it looks like, I think the number one seed is. I mean, we need a lot of luck to even get that. Yes. So we definitely want, no more injuries going forward there. You also say you mentioned both Darnold and Newton there. So a complete mind blank.
How can you forget him?
I know. How can I forget him? Goodness me. Do you think the fact that Carolina, it looks like that Matt Rule can't really decide who his starting quarterback is, keeps mixing them. Is that an advantage for us?
Neither's very good. Yeah, it is, because neither are very good. Cam, we've been through that era. We've seen a lot of Cam when he was extremely good and one of the best in the NFL. He isn't that Cam Newton of, 2015, 2016. He isn't there now. Sam Darnold, a filthy guy. I think potentially he could be a sort of journeyman starter across the NFL, but he just needs to build his own confidence and that from there, and it hasn't quite panned out for him. And then they brought Newton in, and that's going to have rocked him again the same way it did in New York. So I don't know. A lot of this game, especially from the quarterback position, is about time and is about rhythm, is about how you see things. To play 2, 3, 4 snaps or half a series or a drive and then be out and then be back in again, it's bad enough when the other team, we talk about keeping the ball away from the quarterback for a 6, 7, 8 minute drive to throw them off rhythm. But if you're sitting for a quarter or for 2 drives and coming back in, your own team are taking that rhythm and that off you. That can't be easy to do in that position. So, no, I'm not worried about either of them. I think either of them have their moments, and I think the way we're playing with the injuries we've got, the D-line and Levante David being out, I think they could both have the potential to hurt us at times. I don't think either of us over the course of the game are going to pose us too many problems.
David, what about you? What's your keys to the game on Sunday?
I think I can't see us losing. Home field, we've been superb this year. And I think it's a lot of it is putting the effort in almost, I'd like to say without being complacent, more of a practice session, a training session, get familiarity with our backup receivers. One thing's going to be really interesting is the receiving core. You know, will Rojo be able to play with his ankle? Keyshawn had some rib injuries. We've got Le'Veon Bell. Who's going to take the load running? Because if you do just sit back in a pocket and expect Tom to throw without a mix-up in plays, then he does become a bit of a target, doesn't he? So we definitely need to still have a run game out there.
You say about our home records as well, and you're right, it is outstanding. Only one defeat at home, and obviously we don't need to mention it too much, but that was, of course, the defeat against the Saints. But the home form has certainly been something that's been great to see this season.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not happened very often for those of us that travel to the AJ quite a lot. It's always been a mixed bag. So you know, it's great to see the Tampa public get to see a good performing team. It's, you know, and in front of packed stadiums, which is just fantastic.
That's one of the greatest things to see. Now, I mean, I remember last time myself and Ryan went to the AJ. It was which was the Browns game when we won in the overtime, half empty. Somehow, yeah. But yeah, it is absolutely fantastic to see the stadium full now. And Ryan, what's your keys to the game on Sunday as well?
Well, if I'm honest with you, I'm going to really enjoy doing this because it seems like for year after year after year, when Newton was at his best and they would just, I'd go to games against Panthers thinking, why are we even bothering half the time? They're rubbish. They're absolutely terrible, right? And if I'm honest with you, from a Bucs, it's great to see. I absolutely love seeing it. Play Cam, please play Cam. Just play Cam every snap, please. Because he can't throw the ball deep anymore. He can't run like he used to. The Devin White will absolutely light him up a couple of times, and you know that'd be great to see. Do they have any good players? I mean, do they? I don't. They're just, to me, without
I mean, they've got a pretty good receiver, haven't they?
They're a bang average team, and that's being quite kind to them, from my point of view. So if we turn up, if we even put in a half decent performance, I think there's no way we don't absolutely demolish them. So
basically, as long as we don't do what we did against the Jets, we should be all right. I mean, in terms of the performance, anyway.
To be honest with you, I think the Jets are probably better than the Panthers, so we can do it against Jets, and we'll probably still beat them.
If there's any dislikes on this video, we know which fans are giving those dislikes this week. Brilliant. And just to round us off, guys, just like to hear your score predictions. David, how do you see this one going?
42-10 to the Bucs.
Oh, yes, please. Yes. Ryan?
49-3. And Big Vita Vea to finally get that touchdown that I've been wanting him to get all season.
Yeah, I'd love to see him get that.
They'll save that play for the playoffs.
Super Bowl win with Vita Vea.
And Dan, what about you?
I was going 32-13, but I'm pulling all the starters mid-third, start of fourth. So otherwise, we would be racking it up, I guess. So, but no, let's let them sit and have a break.
If Evans gets his yards in the first half, then he'll be out the game.
We won't see him again.
No.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Three screens for Evans. Off he comes.
Yeah, I mean, like you guys, I've gone for a big score as well. I'll be kind. I'll give the Panthers a touchdown, but I'm going to go 37-10 to the Bucs. I'll give them a touchdown. I'll be nice on that one. So Ryan, Dan, David, thank you ever so much for joining me for this episode. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, gents.
Thanks a lot.
Well done,
gents.
And what's left for me to say to you guys is thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the final regular season game this year. Of course, there is more Buccaneer football to come afterwards. We have got that playoff one to look forward to. The Bucs are going for 2. Can they do it? We'll find out very soon. Take care, and as always, go Bucs. Right. Sorry about that, guys. I'm
All
sure we
right,
had. It sounds like I had a lovely conversation. I look forward to seeing that on the pod when it comes out, because I missed all that. Stupid internet. Don't even get me
Was
started.
that you doing an AB of just leaving home?
David, fortunately, he kept his shirt on. So.
Okay.